The ongoing and developing Epstein legal drama has dominated the news this week. And unfortunately, in terms of what's going to happen to him, we don't have much new there. But people are re-digging into some of the fairly disgusting details of what he's been up to the past few decades. And thanks to the case once again being in the national spotlight, we also have a new accuser, which we're gonna get to in just a little bit. First, we do have all of his high-profile friends fleeing for the hills, effectively, saying they didn't know him as well as they're rumored to have. They didn't necessarily like him if they did know him. And Donald Trump is certainly one of the most high-profile examples of that, because as you've probably heard this quote before, he was quoted in 2002 saying in New York Magazine, "I've known Jeff for 15 years, terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." Which is just creepy in so many different ways. And so because of that, and because their pictures been taken together, and Epstein claims that he was responsible for Trump getting together with Melania in the first place, both of their numbers were in his black book when that was revealed a few years back. People want more details, and we're getting them, and they're pretty disgusting too. So there's some new reporting, the New York Times, talking about a party that Donald Trump went to with Epstein. And so Trump in 1992 directed a Florida businessman, George Horaney, who would later accuse Trump of sexually harassing his former girlfriend and business partner, Jill Harth, that's a separate story, to organize a members-only calendar girl competition at Mar-a-Lago. After Horaney arranged to have some contestants fly in, he told the Times in an interview Monday, he discovered that there would be only 2 attendees. At the very first party, I said, "Who's coming tonight?" "I have 28 girls coming. It was him and Epstein," Horaney recalled. "I said, Donald, this is supposed to be a party with VIPs. You're telling me it's you and Epstein?" And indeed it was. So they had a big group of more than a couple dozen girls, and just those two having fun times and appreciating beautiful women, some on the young side perhaps.
Yeah, so listen.
That's all the details we have.
Yeah.
Oh, one added wrinkle before you jump in. While Trump is now saying, I didn't approve, not a big fan of him at the time, he said he was a terrific guy. Horaney, at least now, is saying even back then, Horaney was worried about Epstein. He said he pretty much had to ban Jeff from my events. Trump didn't care about that.
So that goes to the same thing that the Donald Trump quote goes to. They knew back then. Donald Trump doesn't go around saying, man, Jeff Epstein likes girls young, when for no reason. Remember, Donald Trump liked girls young. And I'm not saying that to put him in the same boat as Epstein. I'm saying that and I have evidence of that. Remember, there's a story of how he used to surprise the younger pageant girls, Donald Trump, and would walk into their dressing room when they were half naked. And he has, on a number of occasions, and some of it is on video, talked to really young girls and said, "Oh, you're gonna be a beauty when you grow up," etc. If Donald Trump is saying that Epstein, who he knew really well back then, likes girls really young, man, that means he likes them really, really young. Yeah. And they all knew. He said, Trump once joked around about how he went to a pool party at Epstein's place, or he went to Epstein's place and there was a bunch of kids in the pool, and he's like, "What'd you get, like something like?" Do you have that?
So this is coming, unfortunately, from a book by Roger Stone. But he said that Trump visited Epstein at his Palm Beach home, and later seemed to joke about the scene of underage girls he witnessed there, saying the swimming pool was filled with beautiful young girls. Trump apparently told a Mar-a-Lago member, "How nice, I thought, he let the neighborhood kids use his pool."
Now remember, Roger Stone is not saying this as a criticism of Trump, who he is great friends with, or necessarily even of Epstein. He's just saying, hey, these are my buddies. And Trump said this about another friend of his. Oh, he let the neighborhood kids use his pool. No, they know why he let the neighborhood kids use the pool, so he could molest them. They all knew. And people who were decent back then would ban him from events because he was a predator. Trump, on the other hand, thought that's my kind of guy. Hung out with him, went to parties with him, invited 28 calendar girls to party with him. These guys are all scum.
Yeah, and look, I was very clear this morning when we talked about this in the damage report that all of this looks really bad, but we don't know anything for sure. And in all likelihood, I mean, we know how difficult it's been, how many attempts it's taken for Epstein to have any real legal consequences. Donald Trump is much more powerful than Epstein. The idea that if anything happened, and we don't know that it did, that there would ever be any consequences for Donald Trump, I think is pretty hard to imagine. I mean, how many times has he been credibly accused of doing some sexual assault, rape, those sorts of things already, and it's meant nothing. The idea that a few more, that would tip the scales, I kind of doubt it at this point.
Now
and we don't know that anything happened.
No, look. I'm so tired of the rich having different rules. I can't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
This story has made me snap on that. I mean, look, we all hated it from day one. We covered the affluenza stories, the Stanford kid who did the rape and got away with it. The original affluenza story, I think 4 people died, and they're like, oh, but he's rich, it's okay, etc. When he was drunk driving. In this case, Epstein, they let him out for 16 hours in the day when he was supposed to be in jail. He had his own private suite inside the jail when he went to go sleep there for 8 hours. It was a goddamn hotel. They gave him every advantage. Now, if you're a bleeding heart liberal and you say, well, look, I don't know that we need to take the guy and break his back and put him in and have the other guys do terrible things to him in prison, etc. But they do that to poor people all the time. They do it to middle class people all the time. And if your middle class person was caught molesting dozens of girls, do you think he's gonna have his private suite where he only sleeps there and is out for 16 hours a day, 6 out of the 7 days? Do you think any of that is gonna happen? Of course not. And I can't stand it anymore. Now, when you turn to Trump and Clinton, look, John is right. We have no idea if Trump or Clinton did anything with underage girls. We don't know that. We do know, at least Trump is on the record as having known that Epstein likes young girls. By young, Trump clearly means underaged. So if you say no, it's not clear, maybe he was just talking about 18 and 19-year-olds. Okay, you can believe any fantasy you like. But look at the quote about the neighborhood kids in the pool. They knew. If you knew and protected a child molester in your neighborhood that had molested dozens of kids, you'd be in a world of trouble.
Yeah.
Prosecutors would be all over you. Were you an accessory? What did you know? When did you know it? What crimes did you cover up? But hey, no, Trump, Clinton, rich and powerful. So you think there's gonna be justice? I mean, it took decades to now even think about justice for Epstein, who's the guy who we know did it in the first place. Remember, he pled guilty last time around, okay, for that nonsense sentence, but he did plead guilty. And by the way, it was for what they said, solicitation of prostitutes. Some of the girls were 14 years old. They were not prostitutes.
They can't be prostitutes.
By definition and legal definition, they can't be prostitutes. But by the way, they were not, most of them were not engaged in that. He co-opted them into it. He said, oh, just give me a massage. Oh, I'll just be half naked. Oh, I'll just be naked. And he's a predator. And they call those 14-year-old girls prostitutes just so they could let Epstein off easier. And now, since some of the most powerful people in the country were Epstein's buddies, there's not gonna be any justice for them. Nobody's gonna be talking about accessory. Nobody's gonna be talking about, hey, did they know about Epstein's crimes? Who's gonna hold them accountable? Nancy Pelosi?
Well, no.
Don't be ridiculous.
I mean, William Barr said that he's not gonna recuse himself, which means he wants to be the sheriff on the beat. He wants to make sure that there's consequences. That's why he's not recusing himself.
And if you're wondering about, why would William Barr, the attorney general, I get why he wants to protect Trump. That's the whole point of why he was put in office. But why does he care about protecting Epstein or Acosta? One, it comes back to Trump. So there's William Barr. No. You know what? Trump did build a wall. He built a wall around himself with William Barr by appointing him attorney general. Says, so Barr's like on the scene. Whatever you do, you're not allowed to touch Donald Trump, okay? So you will not be going after him. But on top of that, you know that Acosta, before he was a prosecutor on the Epstein case, worked at Kirkland Ellis. The reason William Barr, one of the reasons that he was going to recuse himself from the entire case, but now has only recused himself from part of the case, was because Barr also worked at Kirkland Ellis. And wait for it, you wanna know who represented Epstein? Kirkland Ellis. So it's a nice little club they got going there. The problem isn't pizza parlors. The problem is that the rich and powerful have an army of lawyers. They're all connected. They're all in the same goddamn club. So the only punishment that ever comes is to the average American. And they skate every time. And I can't stand it anymore. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.